Hello and welcome to week 8 of FTT 122, Introduction to Ammunition and Basic Ballistics. My name is Joshua Clockman. It is March 5th, 2024, and let's get started on our three-part. Use the remaining dummy cartridges, which we have our 7mm pulled apart. We have our 30-30, the 38 Special, the 223 from last week, which we already have the measurements on and everything, and we have the 9mm. To get us started, I'm going to go ahead and measure the round. I'm reading about 350 on the 6, and our definite measurement is on the 7, so 3567, and that is for the round. Next, I'm going to measure the brim of it. Which on the brim, I'm getting 375 off the straight, plus, we'll say 1. And our definite measurement is going to come around to the 5. So 3765, 377 if you want to round up. And to run down to the bottom, I'm getting 375. It's looking to be about 14. Definite measurement is, we'll say 2 on that one. Adding all that up, we have 0.892. And for the next part, demonstrate the proper method using the cartridge measurements to find the information for each provided in the Cartridges of the World textbook. So I have it pulled up here, did a little bit of pre-saving on it just so we can save a little bit of time. So we're going to flip to page 688. Bear with me for a moment. All right, using our measurements for the bullet diameter at 356, everything seems to be about 355. So we'll move down to the next one. We do have a 356 on the 9mm Super Auto SAG. Narrow that one down. For the neck measurements at 374, SAG did not. Everything's pretty close. 379 is too high for the Winchester mag. And coming down to the 389. It's looking like the Mauser's going to be the closest on there for the base diameter at 389. Everything else is at least 2 away. So for that one, we're going to flip to page 447. And from there, we can read up on a little bit of history on everything. Brief history. 447. Do this a little bit quicker. And the Mauser, introduced in 1908, the 9mm Mauser cartridge was developed. Export model Mauser auto pistol. Both cartridge and pistol have relatively short life and were discontinued in 1914. 1933, the Swiss-designed Nuisance submachine gun and later the Austrian Steyr Sleuth were chambered for the round. Manufacture of the cartridge was resumed in several European countries. Today, the 9mm Mauser is a collector's item. Mauser is more powerful than the 9mm Luger, has an edge on the 38 Colt Super Automatic. It develops 534 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle compared to 465 and 430 for the top factory loadings of the Luger and 38 Colt Super. Initial velocity of 1362 FPS with modern bullets. This would make the gun good small to medium range game hunting cartridge. The case is approximately 0.23 inch longer than the 9mm Luger and is rimless and burden primed. Empty cases are easily reloaded with any standard 9mm 100 to 130 grain bullet. And that covers our 9mm. Almost forgot. A little breakdown. Easiest way to get your I trace my rounds, scale model, and then break down on each, the round, the neck, the shoulder. Obviously on things like the 7mm, kind of hard to see in the picture of my drawing. Around this area where my fingernail is a little bit wider than down here, or roughly the same shape, but it is wider than, say, the rest of the housing and stuff. So everything's been drawn out and everything. We are going to go over it. Speaking of the Remington, we are going to actually move on to the 38 Special because that's next up on the list on page 457 on the textbook. I had it for 457, 456. Which was the 38 AMU, I believe, or 38 short long Colt. 458. Anywho, we are going to go over. Yeah, it was this one. Sorry, hard to navigate on a computer. It'd be a lot easier if I had the tabs on a textbook. Short 38 short and long Colt. 38 long Colt was once the official United States Army revolver cartridge from 1892 to 1911. The short version was mainly used in the Colt Army and Navy model revolver with a swung-out cylinder. Developed in 1887, the 38 long Colt was introduced in 1875 as one of the several chambers for the Colt New Line, New Police, and New House revolvers. General comments: it once was a military cartridge. Number of Colt and Smith & Wesson revolvers in this chambering are still around. 38 long Colt cartridges can be fired in a 38 Special revolver, but not vice versa. During the Spanish-American War, the Philippines insurrection in the U.S. Army found that the 38 long Colt had sufficient stopping power for the combat use. The cartridge was therefore dropped in 1911 in favor of the 45 automatic, the Colt 1911. 38 long Colt revolvers will accept 38 Special or 357 Magnum ammunition, but never fire in these in the old 38 firing. The 357 Magnum would be particularly dangerous, probably wrecking the gun, possibly injuring the shooter or bystanders. 38 long Colt ammunition in response to demands from the cowboy action shooting fraternity. Moving next, just going down the list on what we're going to go on to the 30-30 Winchester round. Page 183 of the textbook. 183, 184, depending on the web. We'll verify once I get up here. 184, I believe, on the side link, and then 183 on the actual textbook page. Yes. 30-30 Wesson, which is at the bottom of 183, starting into 184. Historical notes: the 30-30 Wesson was used in rifles designed and marketed by Frank Wesson of Worcester, Massachusetts, who operated from the 1860s into the late 1880s. During the Civil War, the government purchased about 150 Wesson military carbines in caliber of 44 rimfire. Some of the state militias also purchased Wesson carbines His sporting rifles were marketed in rimfire types as early as 1861, as near as can be determined. The 30-30 Wesson was developed sometime around 1880. Usable cases can be fabricated from the 357 Maxim cases. The most common Wesson rifle was a single-shot double trigger arrangement. The forward trigger unlatched the breech, allowing the barrel to be tipped up for loading and unloading. Several models were marketed, including sporting and targeting types. These were, in addition, under lever falling block solid frame types that are quite scarce as the Wesson cartridges themselves. The 30-30 Wesson is not the same as the 30-30 Winchester, which is probably what I have, looking at it now. There's nothing to indicate it had any influence on the design of the 30-30. Smokeless powder loads would not be advisable in this rifle. Probably not what I have, but based on my measurements, that was pretty close to what I had. Moving up to the 7mm rim mag, located on page 106, 107 on the side selector, 106 of the textbook. Let's see if we can get this to go a little bit quicker than that. (106), 107. 7mm Rem mag, introduced by the Remington in 1962. The 7mm Remington Magnum was brought into the same improved bolt-action 700 series rifle. I'm going to skip a whole bunch of stuff on this because we are on a crunch for time at this point. Factory loaded 7mm bullets are available. The hand loader could make it to do just about anything. It has ample power for any North American big game and most thick-skinned African varieties. However, it is an open country plains or mountain cartridge rather than a woods or brush number. Many will compare it with a 7mm Weatherby Magnum or the 7x61 Sharp and Hart Super. Fantastic hunting round. And reasons you would need things like these when you get into gunsmithing, when you start looking into what rounds can fit into what barrels, what would work a little bit better, like where, like maybe there's certain barrels that are more suited for the 9mm, which is what I shoot, between the Luger and everything else, the Federals. Some barrels are could potentially be more suited. Now on the 9mm might be a little different because it is a flat case. When you start getting into these rounds that have like the shoulder and everything like that, the dimensions of that and how it operates within the barrel, going over the barrel harmonics and everything again. That's why I believe it would be essential for any gunsmith to understand all the measurements and everything and the importance of it. Wonderful class. See you next time.